morning, Greg.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having ready for a day of hearing the same thing over and over again.
Not necessarily the same thing, Greg, but anyway, we've got you down for 10 minutes as an organisation. I'll give you a call at 2. We'd really like the opportunity to ask questions if you want to leave some time within that 10 minutes for that. We've got your submission, but if you want to highlight the key points, and the time is over to you. I'll give you a call at 2 minutes to go.
Thank you very much. I'm involved with a number of medical cannabis companies and research companies. I've been involved in the industry for over 8 years. I'm an expert in complex systems. Mostly that came from derivatives and things like that, but it's all about data. We've had taken a look at the proposal here. It is utterly flawed. As we run the math, after your 2 tests, the best result is only 75% of the tests will be accurate, and the least number is only 45% of the tests are going to be accurate after 2 tests. You may as well turn up and ask the officer, "Oh, can I go for tossing a coin, please?" Fundamentally it doesn't work, and that's why you're changing the rules to bring in tests that don't actually achieve anything. The first thing our presentation is pretty full and it touches all the points in a technical base. I'll leave you mostly with those. I want to draw your attention to how far out of step you are with us compared to our peer group. Last week, just last week, in Victoria, the Victorian Parliament released a review of workplace drug testing. They said it's pretty difficult to do well, that presence does not equal impairment, and you break down the social contract at work by conducting pointless tests. I have an anecdote from a large employer in New Zealand of manual workers. A couple of years back, they introduced drug testing. They lost the entire 20-man crew at the most sort of critical, dangerous part of the facility, and they were replaced with people that passed drug tests, turned into a bloodbath, going from 16 years of no injuries to a bloodbath over 90 days. So this impairment is not reflected by the presence. So the Victorian government or Parliament say it doesn't work. The New South Wales Premier on Thursday and Friday, was quizzed about what he was going to do about the not fit for purpose Australian roadside drug testing. And he has undertaken to run a review by the end of this year. Victoria are running another test next year, looking at trying to fix what they've got. Now, as we turn to the rest of our sort of kind of peer group or what's happening around the world, I'd like to draw your attention to something that happened last week in North America. Home Depot, which is an organisation I'm sure you all are familiar with, it employs 400,000 Americans in 2,000 different locations across America. They, from September the 1st, have removed cannabis from any form of testing. So any employment-related testing, they do not even screen for cannabis. Even if it's an impairment-related accident, they've removed it. There is no correlation between presence and impairment. I note that Amazon, which is probably one of the bigger employers in the States, removed cannabis from its employment tests in 2021 and committed to pushing forward with legalisation work for their staff. So here we go. We're moving down a road that our peer group have looked at, used, and are rejecting. It seems a little bit senseless. The next thing I want to talk about is emerging applications for some of these medications, whether it be cannabis or whatever. And I also want to draw your attention to a fact in the presentation from the Royal College of Physicians. They make a point that there is a disproportionate number of young women who get caught impaired by prescription medicines, cannabis, alcohol. Now, there's a reason, I believe, and that's because 20% of women suffer pelvic pain. They suffer endometriosis. They have been ignored by medical science. There is very little in the way that can help them apart from surgery, which is super expensive for our health system. Looks like cannabis does really well. Something in the order of 50% of endometriosis sufferers self-medicate. So you've got a proportion of the society which is looking at an emerging solution to an absolutely disabling series of conditions. And you're going to make it impossible for them to treat themselves, live a normal life, and drive. You've got to make a decision. Are you going to drive, or are you going to have a life and get rid of pain? Is that appropriate? Another large group of people in our society who face a real problem are the people who deal with pain every day. And the one I'm going to point to is orofacial pain. Something in the order of 17% of the population suffer from orofacial pain. And a quarter of them, some 200,000 people, if not more, suffer chronic masticatory muscle problems, which means they're utterly disabled. Now, the treatment for this doesn't actually, opioids don't do it. All the non-steroidal AIDs don't touch it. The right big dose of CBD does. 200,000 Kiwis are so wrapped up in pain that they can't do anything. And you're going to remove an opportunity for them to lead a normal life and become a productive member of society. None of that makes any sense. None of it. I mean, who here would be happy with having a gin and tonic on Thursday, getting pulled over on the next Wednesday, and we say, oh, look, we can see some presence of alcohol in your system. You are done, my son. Is that fair? Is that fair? So we've got this arbitrary, capricious standard that is not supported by any science, it's not supported by any logic, and it's not supported by any ethics. What happens next is you start...
Greg, you've got 2 minutes left. If you want to leave time for questions, please do.
Yeah, look, you're just going to destroy the social license for both the police to police and for you guys to make laws when you come up with capricious, ill-thought-out, non-working nonsense of this kind. Any questions?
Colleagues, any questions? I've got Julianne first, then I'll throw one in. Julianne.
Thanks for that, Greg. I just wanted to clarify and really hear everything that you're saying. Because this bill amends the existing act, which I voted against, but are you opposed to the whole idea of having a regime, or that specifically this amendment? Obviously, with the previous regime, they haven't been able to source tests that met the threshold that was in the law about establishing a certain level of impairment, a certain level of confidence. So what this amendment bill does is make it possible to use less.
Change the rules so you can use tests that aren't actually precise or reliable, and that's a nonsense. I am absolutely all for impairment testing. Please, more testing, have more stops, stop people, test them, do it if it works. But what we need to do for impairment is we actually need a specially trained officer is still the best way. Can you walk the line? Can you touch your nose? We know you're impaired or not. That really is, bring that on, spend more money on coppers, don't spend money on hopeless tests that will result in judicial review and every single barrister in this country lining up to have a go in court. If you guys want to clog up the court system, have at it.
Greg, thank you. We've got about 5 seconds left, so I won't ask my question, but thank you very much.
Please do, because I'd like to answer your question, Andy.
Oh, look, it was, you made I will ask it then. You made an observation in your written submission about the level of fatal accidents involving drugs looking like it's actually increasing, if anything. So therefore, doing anything about it isn't working, but that's probably true of many things that we try and do in many different places. It might be even worse if we didn't. But you're not suggesting not doing testing of some sort. You're just saying it's got to be effective and reliable, which you're saying the oral one is not.
No, it doesn't work. It's pointless. All you're doing, as I said, you might as well, when the copper pulls you over, if you've got an option, you should go for, can I toss a coin?
So so you're saying that the CIT regime is fine as it is, and that if we had a reasonable cause, if an officer has a reasonable cause to think that somebody is impaired, then they could administer some form of test. That's okay, but not random.
The test itself has to be accurate and reliable. Yep. There's no point in me saying that I've got this special spoon in my hand that's always going to point the right way I want it to point. You completely erode the social license between the police and the people they're supposed to look after. If you give them the power to capriciously subject people to detention and search for no reason.
Okay, Greg, thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.